We always say seat time is king, so sit on down and listen in to Motorsports Tech Talk with your hosts, Brian and Eric. Eric, how's it going?
I'm doing pretty good, buddy. How about you?
Pretty good. Yeah, just in between race events now, so
Just hanging out.
got a couple things to do in the car. I did order my torque plate for the engine build.
Oh shit!
Which I don't think we talked about. I mean, it's not really blueprinting per se. It's more engine building, but I guess we kind of got a little bit into that. But
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned the torque plate. What's that do?
yeah, I might as well throw it in here. Basically, when you bolt down your cylinder head on your block, there's where the bolts are holding the cylinder head to the block. There can be some distortion, around the top of the bore there. And by using a torque plate, it's just a big piece of aluminum. A lot of times there'll be spacers in it that replicate the right height, so you can use stock head bolts. But you're basically going to torque that down to the spec in order to replicate that cylinder head being on there when you do the boring, because otherwise, when you're boring it, you're basically boring it not in the kind of state that it'll eventually be in.
Mm-hmm. Right, and I mean these when you're talking measurements that small, right? That's when this actually matters. This, you might not think like, oh, I bolt something to my engine, it deforms. It's not like something you're going to visually see, but when we talk about precision machining, this comes into play, right?
Yeah, and it really depends on your application, whether it's maybe worth it or not. And I honestly haven't. I've only just heard anecdotes about the kind of importance or effectiveness of it, but it makes sense to me, and I feel, especially for a spec Miata engine that has to be, every little tiny little thing counts. I might as well do it, and I know I'll be probably, I plan to race spec Miata basically till the end of time. So I'm sure I'll build more engines, and the investment, which really wasn't that much, will be worth it. So
sweet, dude.
So yeah, that's on the way. I'm trying to get it in before the next race is Mid Ohio. I'm trying to get it in before the next one after that, which is Mid Ohio again. So that way I kind of get like a back-to-back, as well as I don't think I have enough time. By the time the torque plate comes, which is probably in a week or so, and then I drop off the block at the machine shop, basically once I get it back, it'll be like the time for the next race. So the hope is get it all together, ideally before this next race, just like, just have it ready for after the race. I can then throw it in. But luckily, no body damage to repair, no breakages or anything at the last event. So it's always good.
Yeah, that's nice. You just, felt like you were down on power. So just an engine, right? That's easy. That's peanuts.
Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were telling me you did some kind of impromptu backpacking this weekend.
Yeah, buddy. Well, like you mentioned, we're in between race events. And my dumbass didn't realize I had a long weekend this past weekend until like Tuesday night or Wednesday. So yeah, I texted a couple people saying if they wanted to go take our carts down south. And everybody's ducking me like John Jones and Francis Ngannou. They're scared. I'll put the smackdown on them. But anyways, yeah, so last minute, Wednesday, I'm planning a trip to leave Friday morning for backpacking. And yeah, I went down to Shenandoah National Park, and did a loop there, which eventually connected to the Appalachian Trail, which is cool because there's a lot of history on that trail, and it's One day I would like to do that whole trail. It's 2,000 miles. It connects Maine to Georgia, and it's just a footpath, right? That's all you can do is you walk it, and so that'd be sweet. But it's great. It keeps you in shape. I love nature. I like backpacking. So yeah. I mean, it's always a good time. So
Yeah, it's nice to finally emerge from our Michigan slumber or hibernation.
yeah, from the cocoon. Yeah, it's pretty garbage. I mean, you know how I feel, but if you're not actually doing something in the winter, that's a large portion of your life you're just waving goodbye to. So very nice. I was very lucky with how good the weather was going to be, and I left. So
Yeah, nothing wrong with a spontaneous trip.
Exactly. Yeah, dude, just a little solo backpacking trip. And it's early enough in the year where it gets real cold at night, so there's not too many people there, and bears aren't out of hibernation yet, and bugs aren't crazy yet, and the foliage isn't in full bloom. So everything's not super green and lush, but depending on the altitude, how close you are to the snowfall and how much water and everything things get. It can be green or it can be not. But yeah, dude, it was sweet. I loved it. And then I came back and spent way too much money on registration for my next few track events on the bike. So we're ready to go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah, so that's all good. But we're kind of due to that. We're I guess a little late getting this week's episode out. We're thinking of going forward, switching to probably a Wednesday release of the episodes. Not that we think it really has too much of an effect on everything, but to try to keep it consistent. And especially now that the weather's better and we're doing races and track days and backpacking and all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to be getting back, optimistically real late Sundays. If you have a race that's far away, you might have to take part of Monday off and we're getting back then. So it's not going to be realistic, especially in, nice weather, race season, to just keep pumping them out by Monday, So this will be a bit of a better time. Because we don't just talk about it, we do it.
Yeah, so we'll be switching up just a little bit. Yeah, it's normally we record on a Sunday, so we'll probably be doing it on weekday nights, and then put it up on middle of the week Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. But for this week, though, we were thinking of just we've been doing a lot of stuff ourselves, but there's been a lot of other racing going on all over the place. So maybe we just talk a little bit of kind of motorsports roundup as well as automotive news and stuff too. We haven't done one of these ones in a while, so
yeah, it's been a minute, so it'd be nice to review, I suppose.
Yeah. I guess starting it off, one of the first races we didn't really talk about yet was Sebring. I think maybe we slightly mentioned it at some point, but
yeah, I
12
think,
hours of Sebring.
I think I threw in a shout out to the GT4, which is not 12 hours, right? It's right before that, I think. If not, Volt Racing got fourth, so just out of podium. But still, a lot of good hard work out of those guys. But what about the big boy race, Brian? Tell me about the 12-hour.
Yeah, the 12-hour. It's always. I had the privilege of driving the track. Was that last year? I can't remember anymore. It wasn't. I guess it was. It was over a year ago. So not this previous December, but the one before that. And it was a 7-hour race, and everyone talks about how hard the track is on cars. Definitely doesn't. I don't think it applies as much for kind of relatively softly sprung champ cars.
Yeah.
They just kind of glide over it like it's just, like you're driving around Michigan, potholes and everything.
Yeah, significantly softer cars.
Yeah. So, but then you watch those prototypes, and it's like the whole car's jumping.
Oh yeah.
And they don't look comfortable in there. So Sebring's always been one of those events that they talk like it's like 24 hours of beating within 12 hours. So it can definitely be a tough one. And I think that there's a lot of just calamity in the top class in DPI. I think everyone at some point had some sort of incident, including the team that won, Mustang Sampling, JDC Miller, Cadillac. But yeah, I think the biggest disappointment was Cadillac Chip Ganassi Racing was looking very strong until coming to the pits. They hit one of those gosh darn BMW GTLM cars.
Well, I mean, they take up the whole 3 lanes in the pit, so it's hard to avoid.
The big M8.
They're huge. They're so massive.
Yeah, he was coming to the pits. He passed them going into the last turn, but then had to slow down to make the tighter turn into pit lane, and so the BMW went to repass him basically, and then they just kind of smacked into each other. The BMW didn't care; like it hit him and kept going. I think they actually won the race. Actually, no, sorry, they didn't. They were leading because they didn't win because they took out the Corvette. But that's
classic.
We'll get to that. So yeah, I mean that was the big kind of another 2 races in a row where they had kind of a late race like issue contact, or in the case the other time it was a tire exploding out of nowhere. So yeah, pretty. I think they would probably have both wins right now if it wasn't for those problems. But that's racing. You gotta.
Yeah, I mean, all of it has to come together, execution and skill and talent, but luck too, I mean, all of it to race. So.
Yeah, so sometimes you get unlucky. I mean, some team owners and everything will say like you make your own luck and all that stuff, which is definitely true in some ways, by preparing well and being prepared for everything. But I don't know, when a tire goes down unexpectedly, I don't know how else you could prepare for that other than, I don't know, running a different tire that you're not allowed to or something. I don't know.
Right. No, I am a huge believer in prep. I know a lot of people who finish their cars last minute, and it drives me insane. The teams where everything's ready to go long ahead of time, and all they do is they keep practicing, and in this case where you would make your own luck is having a crew that's practiced pit stops a lot, that definitely all plays a factor, but still, if a tire goes down and, maybe it was debris on track, your driver didn't make a mistake, or, hey, maybe Jordan Taylor just shot out of nowhere and took you out because he thought you were in a Corvette. Who knows? But the point is, I feel like there's a lot you can do as the team, and most of it's on your shoulders, but sometimes it's not. It really is luck. So.
Yeah, but not to take it away from the team that won, but I've been impressed with Chip Ganassi Racing's performance. They've come back in after several years off, so they just haven't been able to really finish it out. But that's just sometimes how it goes. Maybe they'll have some better luck and better results into the season. So we'll keep an eye out there. The Mazda got second. They haven't been able to get the wins yet this season, but they've been reliable, which is a big change for them.
Huge change, monumental.
Yeah, it's been their kind of Achilles heel, and they only have one car now, so any reliability issues are very much pretty dire and have very large consequences. So I don't know, maybe because there's not two cars out there, there's half the chance of one breaking. But I don't know.
I'm not sure that's how that
It always
works.
seemed like at least one of them would go.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and otherwise, to round out the podium was the Acura DPI of Meyershank Racing. So I think that's it's their first podium of the season. That's best result so far, beating out usually the kind of favored Cadillac, the Konica Minolta Acura. But not to say they're not a great team. So
They are. Yeah.
it's another good result for them. LMP2, LMP2 and LMP3, it's kind of hard to follow, mostly because on the broadcast they don't really follow it. But it was Pier 1 Matheson Motorsports getting first, with Era Motorsport getting second, and Tower Motorsport getting third in LMP2, and then LMP3 was Core Autosport taking the win, and then the two Riley cars in second and third. It's still pretty good numbers for them. 5 LMP2 cars, 7 LMP3. That's still good numbers.
Yeah.
It's usually Daytona.
Yeah, significantly more than in the past.
Yeah. Usually like there's a ton at Daytona, and then everyone kind of doesn't show up for the rest. So it's good to see more teams still there. Except for, of course, GTLM, which we're only have 5 cars right now. I believe BMW is only doing the Enduros, so I think after that, I believe the next event, which, do you know what the next race is?
It's probably Mid-Ohio.
I think you're right.
On that note, I did get, it's probably secret, but we only have like 20 listeners, so spill the beans. I did get an email about Watkins Glen. Like a normal email, right? Like, when they're telling you where to prep and all this stuff and what to bring. So, maybe they won't cancel it.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of thought that, obviously they canceled venues last year, but New York has been so crazy. They thought that, maybe the Glen might be on the chopping block again this year. But if I got that email, things might be looking up for them. So, which is cool because it's a great track, and I love the area. We just mentioned backpacking. I like hiking around the waterfalls and all that stuff too. So, I really do like Watkins Glen.
Yeah. I noticed with a lot of the kind of amateur endurance racing series that we follow, they have events at Watkins Glen, and they're getting all this supplemental rules are getting posted and everything. So it looks like everyone's going to get the race there this year, which is good. It's good to see. No one really had the chance. No one had the chance last year. So
Yeah.
So but next event is like you said, is Mid-Ohio. So the BMWs, I believe, won't be there. So it'll just be the lone Porsche and the 2 Corvettes fighting it out for an automatic podium.
Wow, what a tight race.
You gotta love to be the marketing person on either one of those teams, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Like, worst case, you're gonna put down, we had some bad luck, but we kept fighting. That can do, never give up spirit. And we came in second or third, and it's really, this is what this insert brand here is all about. Okay, by third you mean last. But it's still fun to watch, right? Great cars, great drivers, but I love it when the field is so small that everybody gets a trophy.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see, especially at the pro level.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, it's going to be so hard for them to like kind of get a gap in the points, right? Like there's not many points between not even almost finishing not even finishing the race and winning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, so Porsche, speaking of still GTLM, they pulled out the win, I think for the third year in a row, or maybe fourth, but at Sebring, and it wasn't what was expected towards the end. The Corvette was leading most of the race. The other Corvette had an issue. I didn't actually see what happened to them. They were a few laps down. But the number 4 car was in the lead and then got taken out by the BMW, which then just gave an opening to the Porsche. But the BMW tried to also take out the Porsche, but it just missed barely. So
Oh, damn. That's that luck we're talking about.
yeah, so it's not a bad strategy when there are so few cars in the class, and if one of them has issues already, so there's only 4 cars in the lead lap, you take them out, you try to take out one of your few only competitors, and yeah, they're going to give you a drive through, but you're still, either way, you're probably going to finish second or third. So it's not a terrible strategy, but it didn't work out this time because they weren't able to finish off the Porsche. So yeah, Porsche got the win. WeatherTech Racing, so the only kind of non-manufacturer run team taking the win.
There you go.
And then BMW with second and third, with Corvette in fourth and fifth, which is last and second to last. But I'm sure their press release didn't sound too bad.
Yeah, dude. Fourth, dude. That's just outside of podium.
Just barely missed the podium.
Yeah.
Which honestly they did just barely miss, honestly, the win. But those BMWs are just on a warpath this year. So I mean, they take up so much space and they seem to take a hit pretty good. So I would definitely watch out for them this season. Of course, in the endurance rounds at least. So should be maybe a little cleaner racing in next race because they won't be around to take everyone out, including the overall leader. So that could be a good thing.
Yeah.
But
that's true.
And then finally GTD, which is arguably probably the best class to watch because not only does it have the most cars, but usually they're very close to each other.
Yeah, personally, it's my favorite.
Yeah, and they had the Porsches 1-2 with your boy Trent Hinman getting second.
Woo! Woo!
So
yeah, man. Hey, he's one of those guys dodging me. I was calling him out right here. Show up in that X30. I'll lay the smack down.
Yeah, maybe because he doesn't have an actual drive this year, does he?
No.
Other than GT4
and the LMP3 car with Volt.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff that was going on. I mean, that's probably all. I guess more personal to him. So it's I guess I'll pass. So pass on the question or the comment.
Yeah. But right now he is in GTD. He's filling in for I can't remember, basically the gentleman driver, I think, for that team, or at least one of them for Wright Motorsports. I can't remember his name, but he's filling in right now because they had an incident, I believe at Daytona, maybe the Roar, a big crash, so he had to sit out at least one event and obviously 2 events. So we'll see if Trent stays in there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird place to be. Like, I personally wonder how it works. Because I mean, I don't know, right? Because he was a Honda bro. I think he's still maybe a Honda bro. But they're only running one car, so there's only one NSX and GTD, right? So there's stuff going on there. And then I don't know. Obviously, he did it, so kudos to him. But I am curious how you navigate those waters of, keep Honda happy, but like, hey, I'm going to go drive this Porsche. But
Yeah. So
yeah, it's cool. It's awesome.
yeah, yeah. I was just looking up. Is Ryan Hardwick is who he's replacing due to having a concussion. So we'll see how long he's the sub. Man, I'd love to be a sub. I'd do it for free.
Put me in, coach. I'll do
Yeah,
it too.
put me in. I'm ready
Yep.
if you need someone. So
I've been preparing in Miatas all my life for this.
yeah, it's
It's the same as a
Porsche.
GT3
It's
car,
kind
right?
of like a Miata. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah,
anything,
definitely.
Miata's faster because it has independent front suspension, unlike at least the older ones had McPherson, the older
Yeah, not the
911s.
new
I think
ones though.
but basically, I mean, the Mazda's a better developed, probably independent suspension. It's been, you know, they're still probably working out the kinks on those Porsches. They haven't figured it out, I bet. But
Oh, they're definitely working out the kinks on the Porsches for sure. And if someone came to me and said, "Hey, do you want a Porsche GT3, either the road car or the race car, or this old ratty NA8 Mazda Miata?" I would take the Miata.
yeah, I mean, Miata, it's it's an unbelievable
Always the answer.
machine. Yeah, it's
It
it's
is.
always the answer. But anyway, going back to the results, the Porsche that did win it was the FAF Motorsport car with Wright Motorsport in second, and then third was the Aston Martin with Heart of Racing team. So, yeah, I'm still surprised not to see the Lamborghinis up there. They've been struggling so far this season. So
Yeah, I haven't looked at them. I haven't looked at their BOP, but it is surprising because they've been so strong. So should probably do
yeah.
that.
So I know they had some reliability issues at Daytona, and I think they had a crash or something. I think they had a brake. Actually, I think it was a brake failure. I can't remember which car had it. If it was the Lamborghini that had it and then hit someone else, or the someone else had it and hit the Lambo. But it was a pretty big wreck. But both drivers got out okay, so
That's good.
it's always good when there's no injuries. So, but that was that was their race, of course. So, and I think they took out the Mercedes. So basically the GRT car took out the Allegra Motorsports Mercedes. So they finished at the bottom. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty good race. There's some good action, especially towards the end, with the prototypes fighting it out. And the GTLM cars were battling. Obviously, they got into each other. GTD was a little more strung out than usual at the end. I was kind of surprised by that, at least at the very front. But yeah, it was a good race. Nothing kind of crazy, groundbreaking. Pretty good turnout. But yeah, it's always a good one to. So usually a good one to watch. Really, all the enduros, it's nice because it's a lot of content, but sometimes because of the nature of enduros, it's not super, exciting all around because it's more the long game.
Right.
But you get a lot of action throughout, so it's always. I think if anything, it's more interesting for the drivers. Well, any racing is, but. But getting all that seat time is always good, and it's very important too.
Probably
as
the
we
most
say.
important.
Yeah. I guess. Yeah. Speaking of Porsche, and we were talking about GT4 a little bit. I thought they were going to get that win in the GT4 race. They were dominating, by far the fastest lap, and they were just kind of in a league of their own. But they got beat out by the good old Camaro. I
Got
believe
'em.
just based on strategy. I think the Camaro didn't take. Basically, a lot of teams I think pitted not early, but pitted before a caution that came out later in order to get their pro guy or proer guy in the car. And they didn't. They pit on the caution, so I think it basically saved them a pit stop. Everyone else had to come in for a splash, so they were able to get the win on strategy, which it's always cool to see. Strategy's, of course, very important. But that left the Porsche in second, and then the Turner Motorsports BMW in third, and then your boys at Volt Racing with Archangel in the Aston Martin Vantage GT4.
That's right.
Can't miss it. It's highlighter yellow. Got a good solid fourth, so that was good to see. Maybe it could have been a podium if it wasn't for that fuel strategy that the Camaro was able to do. But yeah, still a good result for them. Was there a LMP3 race that weekend?
I don't think so. Yeah. There was one, but it was the week before.
Oh, at Sebring?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I've been looking out for the replay of it on YouTube, but I hadn't seen, because I remember I thought you said your boys won that one.
Yeah, they did. It was a week before.
Okay.
Here's fucking Mike Skeen has a video on YouTube.
Oh, well, then it had to have happened.
Yeah.
Maybe they didn't turn on the actual cameras. Just Mike Skeen, the only one that had one.
It's just Mike Skeen's fucking GoPro, dude. That's it.
Well, yeah, I'll have to take a look. Maybe they'll post it eventually, or maybe I missed it on IMSA's website. But yeah, it's good to see that's their first win, right? In the LMP3 car, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's if you're going to IMSA's results, you have to go to Sebring Sports Car Week to find it.
I see. Oh yeah, there it is. Nice. Oh yeah. But yeah, your boy's getting the W.
Oh yeah, dude. Look at those guys.
I'm sure it was some residual Ericness
absolutely.
kind of sprinkled on them.
It couldn't be anything else, I don't think.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, there are a lot of mouth breathers. So you're welcome. But
yeah, I think that covers Sebring pretty well.
Did you pay any attention at all or hear about Bristol?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the mudslinging, not literal mudslinging.
Not literal?
No, literal.
Oh, okay. I thought you said, I was like, what the hell are you talking about?
There might have been there might have been some figurative mudslinging too, but there was definitely literal.
Yeah. Yeah, so they full disclosure, I didn't watch it. But it's kind of funny because everybody has their own opinion of it, all the hardcore NASCAR fans. And like there's lots of drivers who have a lot of history racing on dirt tracks, and some of them didn't get called for this race, so they're pissed off. And I saw another video where like by the end of the race it was just normal track, like all the dirt was thrown off to the left and the right of the racing line. And so some people were upset about that. Again, everybody's got their own opinion. I think it's fun, and realistically, that's what they're trying to do, right? Is engage viewers and just make it enjoyable. It's not necessarily about what's the pinnacle of this effort as what's going to generate more views and more money. I think they did a good job with that because it looked interesting, and I know a lot of people tuned in for it. So, and some people were like, "Oh, it's unprofessional," and some people were hammering Miller Lights and talking about how great it was. So, I mean, I don't know. That's cool. That was a thing that happened.
Yeah, that definitely happened. Also, the Formula One season kicked off.
Yes,
That
it
also
did.
happened
Mm-hmm.
with not Australia, which was postponed till much later in the year, but with was it Bahrain, I believe. Actually, kind of, I'm blanking on this. Yeah, Bahrain. Because they've done so many of them in the last year. It just it seems like this is like the fifth Bahrain in the last couple weeks or whatever. I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was Max Verstappen taking a very convincing pole on Saturday by like 3/10. So everyone was excited to see Hamilton not win, and then lo and behold, Hamilton won. So
Yeah. My mind is blown.
yeah, it was close though. Max, honestly, Max, he made a mistake. He made the pass, but he couldn't keep it on the track, so he had to give it back. And I felt like he could have been a little more cheeky with the give back to give himself more of a toe. He could have
Mm-hmm.
maybe waited till basically the little straight before the last corner and maybe given himself some DRS and then kind of just redid it. But he wanted to give it back as soon as possible to give himself, I guess, as much time as possible. But he just kind of ran out of time, ran out of grip too. He had fresher tires, but he following that closely is always really hard on him. So I think he just kind of lost his window there.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know lots of people were also complaining about, like the number of warnings and the leniency given. I'm not sure how factual it is, but people have been complaining about how it seems to be different between some drivers.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like there was I don't know, like I feel like some teams definitely made some passes kind of in the same way and weren't required to give it back because it wasn't for the lead, so they didn't care as much. If I remember correctly, I thought there were, and there it seems like there a lot of times were, but I mean it was a pretty blatant one. But I don't know, like that one was a little different in that it wasn't like he was forced off, right? It was more he just Hamilton kind of broke sooner, and then it kind of Max just went a little too deep and then went it wide. So I think if they would have been a lot closer to each other, I think they would have let it go because of the amount of racing room he was given. But in this case, he was given a ton of room and easily could have made the pass. Well, not easily, but he could have made the pass on the track. There was Hamilton left him room. He just overcooked it a little. So yeah, didn't get the win. So, but still got second with Bottas getting third. He's just I don't know what he's doing right now. He's not very close. He seems to be getting slower over time. I don't know. Maybe he's letting the tweets get to him or something.
That must be it.
Because I know last year he did his whole "to whom may concern fu" on the radio when he won a race after Hamilton got like a stupid penalty.
Yeah.
But yeah, because I don't know, it's just frustrating for me to see someone that I feel like definitely isn't the fastest guy in the paddock just get wins and automatic podiums when someone else could maybe be there to challenge Hamilton more, but that would create more drama for them. And I think Hamilton definitely enjoys having a slightly weaker teammate.
Oh yeah, Hamilton definitely enjoys it. And while us fans might be like grumbling, certainly Mercedes enjoys it, right? Every time there's been a team where both drivers are real close and they're fighting, eventually they take each other out, and
Yep.
then everybody suffers, at least on the team. Makes for great news. But so yeah, I feel like everybody except us enjoys it, Certainly cheaper for Mercedes. So
Yeah. Yeah, and Bottas still. I mean, he gets consistent results. Like I think he is a very good number two, but the for some reason he thinks he's not a number two, when it should be pretty obvious by now. I mean, you don't have to accept it, but at least acknowledge it. um,
Yeah, it'd
I
be
mean,
more
it's
like, hey, this other jabroni, my teammates won quite a few of these world championship titles. I haven't.
in the same car.
Yes.
So yeah, he. I believe this was the first time Hamilton won the opening race in a long time. Usually, for whatever reason, someone else does. I mean, last year was Bottas, and then, like, the year before that, it might have been a Ferrari or something while they were cheating. But yeah, it was a pretty exciting race because it came down to the very end there with Lewis and Max fighting each other. Um, One thing I thought was frustrating was the announcers would just be like, "Oh, that advantage back to Verstappen," but like he didn't have track position. Ultimately, track position is king. Um, you got to be able to make that pass, and although he was catching him really fast, and he did get up to him, catching him and passing is two different things, and just wasn't able to finish it off. So I think definitely a rare mistake from Verstappen as far as, like, you know, driving and passing and everything. Although, he'll get caught up in incidents. Seemed like a lot last year, but he kept it clean but just couldn't finish it off. So I guess what I'll be curious to see is if they continue to have that pace over Mercedes in the next couple events, because just sometimes Red Bull will have a quick weekend, and then other weekends, Mercedes is just far ahead. So we'll see
Right.
if they can keep the pace up. Because if so, then I'd really like to see a nice battle between those two all season.
It'd be fun.
And yeah, it'd definitely be a lot less boring than it recently has been, I guess. At least the seasons have been. Last season had some good races, but overall, just the championship battle was decided so early, and the only chance everyone had was basically Hamilton getting COVID, and he did, and he still had more points to miss a whole event.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, so it was Hamilton, Verstappen, Bottas were on the podium, with Lando Norris getting fourth, which is pretty good for McLaren.
It's Friday then.
He every time McLaren is like they talk it up like, oh, we're so close to the top now. Like, last season we got third in the championship. Now we're going for a second, but their pace is still too far off to really. In qualifying it might be close, but race pace just isn't there. And that's to say basically all of the kind of the midfield teams. But Perez got fifth after his car just kind of stopped working on the out lap, and so he had to come into the pits and start from the pit lane. So it was a pretty good recovery drive from him. That was good to see. I'm hoping he can. He didn't have a good qualifying. I'm hoping he can kind of challenge, at least get close to Verstappen, and kind of be at least a wingman. At least they can help each other out, because right now it's like the Mercedes can kind of bully Verstappen up front, because they could have one guy undercut, one guy overcut, and make them react in order to kind of stay in position, because they could just leave one of the cars out and hold up the other, hold up the Red Bull while the other one goes and does some fast laps. So if we get another Red Bull in the mix up there, then it'll really help out with that strategy. So, well, hopefully Perez I believe he started 11th. He didn't make it into Q3 because they wanted him to do his lap on the medium or the yellow striped tires, and he just missed out. If they would have put him on the soft tires, I'm sure he would have made it, but he just missed out. Then we had Ferrari making a kind of a big turnaround from last year and getting 6th and 8th with Leclerc and Saints Uh, that's a pretty big improvement for them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they were almost one of the worst. I mean, they were like fighting with, you know, like with Williams at some points during the season last year. So good to see them improve. I guess they're still just kind of in the mid pack again, not fighting up the front like they should, especially with all the money they get and have.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and then we had Tsunoda getting his first points. That was a pretty good race for him. He got ninth. I guess quickly before I skip over him, Ricardo getting seventh, getting beat out by Norris. That was he outqualified him, but in the race didn't have as good of a race. But yeah, Tsunoda starting his first F1 race, scoring points. That's good to see. And then finally, top tens rounded up by Stroll and the Aston Martin. Vettel had a terrible race. He did not have any really luck that race. In the Aston Martin Mercedes version 3, but a year old car. I guess it's a 2-year-old Mercedes now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Fernando Alonso had some issues. He was up there. You know, he's
Isn't he supposed to be retired?
one of the greatest. He's one of the greatest drivers ever to have lived ever. So
That's what I hear every time I try and watch a fucking IMSA or a WEC race with him in it.
yeah, it's kind of a bit of a meme in the in our household here. Because I mean, he is a very good driver, but just the amount of hype behind him is impressive.
I mean, there's hype, and then there's also like there's legitimate battles going on in the field. But when he's in, you know, as an example, at Le Mans back when we used to do that, you know, all those years ago, he's in the only factory team car. They have a gigantic lead because it's the only factory team car.
Yeah.
So, like, Cooley is doing great, but there's legitimate battles going on in other classes for, you know, good position. And you don't see it. There's just a video of the Toyota driving around by itself, and the broadcaster's talking about how great of a driver he is. So that's at least some of where that meme came from.
Yeah. It's, you know, he's a 2-time world champion, and he had some really good battles and races over the years. It's just yeah, I don't know. It's just strange how popular, how much fanfare I guess he has, especially among just the announcers. It seems like the broadcast, and I kind of understand for like Daytona when they're trying to get some more international viewers in there, and you know, having Alonso there is could potentially, you know, everyone wants to see their hero driver go race against some other people, and also, you know, in the same car with some other people too, see how he does there. So I can understand that point, but it was to the point where they had like a dedicated Alonso cam at Daytona the first time he went there.
Yeah.
And like they would just show it at every start, like after coming off of every single commercial, and then every time going to break. And like there'd be multiple updates during the event, like we think that Fernando will be back in the car around 8 a.m. or, you know, so it was a little much there, but
Yeah.
but yeah, he was having a good race until I can't remember what happened to him, but he didn't finish. So I think it was a brake issue or a car issue or an engine issue or something. Maybe it was brakes, but yeah, you know, he. I just finished up watching Drive to Survive, season 3. It was actually pretty good this season.
Spoilers.
Not that it wasn't good last season, but just one of the things they covered was Daniel Ricciardo's kind of. It was a strange season last year because it started so late due to COVID. a lot of people had their new contracts basically before the season even started. So, Ricardo had his McLaren contract already, and but still had to do a full year with Renault. So just a little awkward. So that's one of the things they focused on. But throughout the whole thing, I was just like, who cares? Get Ricardo out of here. You got Fernando freaking Alonso coming in instead. Like that's the easiest trade in the world. Come on, Fernando Alonso, the greatest driver ever. Like, get out of here with that.
Yeah, dude.
So, but yeah, I wish I could just be like, I'm gonna retire. You know what? Actually, I'll just, is it cool if I drive for another season? Okay, sweet.
Yeah, dude. I would do the Kimi Räikkönen, or if we want to move to two wheels, Valentino Rossi thing. And I would be well into my 40s, still racing. You're gonna have to fucking tear my lifeless body off of this machine. I will race as long as I can.
Yeah. In one of his interviews, Raikkonen was like, yeah, I think of it just more of as a hobby right now. Like,
yeah, I saw that. I love it. I mean, why not though, right? Like, if you've got a ride, I would. And he's got money, so he doesn't need the job. But like, it's fun, right? I would. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And he still gets good results. He's he's not in a top team anymore, but more power to him. I would be doing that in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But yeah, next race is in it for a few weeks. I became accustomed to last year how it was all kind of condensed and there was like 4 races in a row and
right. Yeah, there was at least one race a week between series. There was no off period ever.
Yeah. So yeah, we gotta wait. I hate waiting. Everyone hates waiting, but yeah, sometimes you gotta wait.
Yeah.
IndyCar, their first event's coming up on the 18th, so their season will be starting soon. I usually depends. I like to follow the full season. Sometimes I'll miss several races and then just kind of binge it, just like a Netflix show.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's fair.
Usually, I'll usually watch the Indy 500, and then I'll usually watch the race after, which is Detroit, kind of because it's kind of fresh in my mind. But
it's also fun to like watch in person because we're here.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, that season will be started up soon. I'm looking forward to that. But in kind of the amateur realm, Daytona's coming up, and for Champ Car, that's an event I would have liked to do again this year. Last year, we were able to get the W in the what do you call it, or the Van Buren Boys / Cruise Racing Ultima. So they'll be out there. They're going to be there, although it's under new ownership. It sounds like it's like a freaking F1 team over here with like getting bought out over here. But basically, Blue Bayou Racing is now the owner of the car, and Paul's still prepping it. They'll be out there, so I'm sure they'll be one of the teams to watch since they're defending winners. But
yeah, I mean, and I think WRL is going to be at Mid-Ohio next. That's their next one, and then Road America after that. But in terms of cool racing, that has actually happened. In MotoGP 3, right? So, it's like saying Formula 3. Not the top class, not even the second class. In Qatar, Acosta won the race, and he started in pit lane. So, I mean, that's always a rarity and really fun to see. Someone just charge up through the track like that. It's on the KTM Red Bull bike. And And yeah, I mean, he made it happen. But another, um, you know, 5. I'll give him more than 5. I'll say 50, but definitely less than 50 yards um, before the finish line, and the guy behind him would have won. You know, because the thing with bikes is, so obviously there's no DRS, but all those old aero elements you used to think of exist, right? Because they don't use a ton of arrows, so you don't wash out someone's grip or anything. So there is a definite slipstream behind the guy in front of you. And the guy behind him was right there at the end. And I don't know. I think those finishes are always awesome, right? He started super last, like way last, pit lane last. You know, the whole field goes by, and then you're still waiting to be released from pit lane. And he won. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive for sure. Yeah, I guess going back to some of the Champ Car stuff, there's been a few races in the last couple of weeks that I wouldn't really talk about. There's NCM on the 20th, so that was, I think, the week before I went out there for Spec Miata. We had some Miatas take both wins. The Whiskey Tango Foxtrot taking the win on Saturday, and on Sunday the Flat Out Nemesis NC Miata taking the win there. So it's definitely a Miata track. I mean, when you're also racing other Miatas and you don't have enough power, it definitely hurts. But so it's not. But I wouldn't call it a power track.
What does the name stand for?
NCM?
Yes.
National Corvette Museum.
And that's not a power track.
No, actually, it's
Very
probably one of the
surprising.
slowest Corvette tracks I've ever seen. I think last year, the last race of the weekend, it was the last race of the season, and then the last race on that weekend, I guess they wanted to get everyone out sooner for whatever reason, so they put both the Thunder and Lightning run groups together in the last race, and yeah, we were getting held up by Corvettes there in our Spec Miata.
Ouch. And held up by the Spec Corvette C5 guys?
Yes. So yeah, that was interesting. I think there was, I think some of them did have faster laps, but you know, there was like 7 cars there, and yeah, they were some of the guys mid to backpack were holding us up. So
You think that's driver mod?
yeah, probably. And the track definitely is a lot of tight turns. You know, Corvettes aren't, I guess, known for their turning. They can be, I guess, but Miatas are definitely known for their turning.
Yeah, that's all they're known for.
So, and there's a lot of turns, and I don't know, maybe Corvette owners can't remember that many turn numbers or something. I don't know.
I mean, that's fair.
So, anyway, not to hate on Corvette people too much, but yeah, that I haven't done a Champ Car race there before. I think it would be interesting. I think it'd be kind of hard to pass if you don't have power down the straights. You'd probably get bottled up in the turns a lot, but I could definitely see the Miatas being quick there, and they were, seems like, quite a bit faster than kind of everyone else. So, but yeah, not surprising. Miatas are fast cars, probably the fastest cars in the world. You know.
I mean, they're definitely the best cars in the world.
Looks like there was an event at Harris Hill. Actually, I don't know why that didn't come up. For some reason, the website's not showing the results. But well, there's at least on Saturday, Miata won. So just Miatas just clean it up. They should really ban those things.
I mean, they're just, fantastic cars. Hard to argue with. They're definitely better than Camaros.
Yeah, that's. I mean, the proof's in the results right there. And then I think there was also Vieira South. That was early March, but that was Where's John, Acura Integra taking the win there. So I didn't even know they were still racing. So it's good to see one of the older teams back in it. But yeah, as that season goes on, we're trying to get the Conquest ready for at the very least Gingerman, and hopefully that Mid Ohio that they're having too. So that's, I think, the first event I'll be doing for Champ Car. I'm definitely focusing a bit more on the Spec Miata this year, especially since there's a couple more races this season, so it's kind of a little harder to sneak them in there. But yeah, I always enjoy racing with them. Yeah, and I guess the last part of this episode, we wanted to maybe chat a little bit about automotive news. I guess one of the kind of big things to come out in the last week or so was the electric Hummer, like fully announced and revealed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
looks cool. I mean, there's a lot of unsurprisingly, there's a lot of car companies pushing electric, and it just seems like recently there's been a lot of announcements for different types of, BEV or some sort of hybrid vehicles. And I think right now the Hummer's the biggest one, literally and figuratively. The thing's massive.
Yeah, I mean, it's got some big numbers too to it, with claimed 1,000 horsepower and 11,000 foot-pounds of torque.
11,000 footy-pounds. It's pretty good. Is that at the rotor? So we can't say the crank anymore. It's a big number. Certainly electric motors are capable of generating it. But I'm just wondering if they're also sort of massaging it, maybe, or if that's, actually at their power unit, so to speak.
Yeah, as soon as I saw that number, I was skeptical. Wondering if it includes like the gear reduction in the motor and everything, or
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean,
so
the original Hummer had portal axles, so you had gear reduction in the diff and gear reduction in your knuckles. Right?
Yeah,
You had gear reductions everywhere. So
yeah,
yeah, I don't know.
exactly.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely it's an interesting way to put that. But yeah, I guess we'll see. There's lots of like little notes attached to every single spec saying it's like GM estimates. So I mean, they could just say whatever they want, I guess, and just say it's an estimate.
Mm-hmm.
Estimated, it's only going to cost $80,000, but actually it's going to be like much more than that. But
It's going to be 150, but that's not quite double, so close enough.
yeah,
Who knows?
who knows? But according to this website, they already reserved all of the EV Edition ones, exclusive, limited availability,
y'all missed out already.
112,000. Yeah, so that's unfortunate. Yeah, I mean, it's an expensive vehicle. That's for sure. I hope they have some more EVs coming, because I don't think this is going to cut it. Based on actually my new role now at Toyota. I'm now in charge of the zero emission vehicle regulation planning for Toyota. So I moved a bit from the kind of engineering and evaluation side, and now I'm actually doing more businessy type things, because I thought I'd give it a try. So.
Boo.
So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be the one that's gonna kill all the fun cars, and then make sure that everything as electric. Yeah, so that'll be fun for everyone except for me, I guess, or maybe no one except for me. But yeah, I mean, based on the regulations coming up, they're going to need a lot of EVs. So, and based on this, although the EV Edition 1 is supposed to release fall 2021, which is coming up here, the other versions, especially the quote unquote base model that's still 80 grand, isn't slated for until 2024. So that's quite a bit, quite a ways away there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be the volume seller, right? So I guess we'll see, but it's definitely showing. GM is talking about their commitment to EVs, so it's definitely they're putting their money where their mouth is now. So
Right.
yeah, it's cool to see. I think it'll be a sweet vehicle. I'm curious about the crab walking that it can do.
I'm curious about
I don't
the usage, I guess. Like, it's cool you can make it do that, but like, if you need help parallel parking and you're gonna enter the space you're trying to enter at like 45 degrees, right? Because it's not a lateral movement, right?
Yeah.
It's not like you can just pull up and the car drives in laterally.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a cool showpiece, but practicality, there's not much there.
You'd probably need a pretty big kind of opening in the space to be able to just crab walk your way in.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it nice for, say you do your normal parallel park, you back in, and then you're just a little bit off. You can just
Yeah, that's true.
zip it in there and make a nice little adjustment.
Yeah, for those times when you're like close, but you're at that point where you're like, I messed it up. I'm kind of close, but I'm sticking too far out. I need to redo this, but I'm only really 6 inches away.
Yeah, it's like
that would be nice for sure.
Yeah, like either you just accept it or you redo it completely, but this would avoid that, I guess. And it being a big vehicle, it definitely is not going to be the easiest to park. So I can see that benefit.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's so big, you're probably not even going to parallel park it to begin with. You're not going to be within that 6 inch buffer. But
so, yeah, I'm curious if it can crab walk. I imagine it can obviously 4-wheel steer to have really tight turn radiuses. So that could be, I think, a big benefit for such a big vehicle.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean that cuts it down a significant amount, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So. It is funny to see like the biggest hype right now around EV vehicles is like the Cybertruck and the Hummer. It's like these are really huge, normally very not good for the environment vehicles.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, if one person's driving it around, even if it's electric, the amount of energy it consumes is significantly more than your Bolt or I don't know, name your other electric car, right? Your Nissan Leaf, your Prius, it's still bigger than the Mach-E, right? So you can call that one out.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a little weird because it's still wasteful, right? Like, I mean, I guess it's electric, but
yeah, I mean, it's less wasteful than if it was, if it wasn't electric. But yeah, you'd be better off not making it at all and just making smaller EVs that maybe make more practical sense. But I imagine they're just trying to capitalize on, the big truck market where that is very strong here in the U.S. and also is very profitable. So I think it's their best chance at making money or at least breaking even on that vehicle because obviously the investment's going to be huge and it's going to be an expensive vehicle to make. So
right, yeah, no, you're right. It's going to be a huge investment, and I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? It's huge truck market in the U.S. and it's all about that money, dude. Money.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's electric or not or wasteful or good. They just want their fucking money. Give me
Yeah.
that money.
Yep. Yeah. Meanwhile, the Bolt's not selling, and they're having to put a bunch of money on the hood at the dealership just to get them to move.
I've been thinking about buying one of those because of that. They're so cheap. Oh my god. They're significantly, like they have a couple different discounts they're throwing on, but it ends up being about $10,000 off, right? And then you're gonna get
Yeah. No, it's
supposedly for 2021, Biden is extending the electric vehicle tax credit, whatever, and it's gonna be cheap, real cheap. I kind of want that.
yeah. It's yeah. I definitely will do see myself getting an EV at some point. I don't think I'm ready for it yet. But I definitely like to try out like a plug-in hybrid first. Because it's kind of the good middle ground where you can still maybe make it to work and back on electric power, but when you want to make a longer trip, you turn on that generator engine and off you go.
Yeah, make it work.
So, but yeah, I mean EVs are very cool. I mean we've talked about them quite a bit in a couple episodes. So
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still exciting to see see some innovations come out. So we'll keep an eye on that one, see what else. I mean, there's the electric F-150 that's underway. It hasn't been fully revealed yet, but definitely you Ford boys are definitely working on it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Obviously the Mach-E just recently released. That's good to see. So yeah, more EVs is good. But yeah, I mean, I guess that's probably a good place to finish this week's episode.
Yeah, it'll be still over an hour, but relatively short for us.
Yeah.
So
No,
boom.
that's impressive for us. Usually we ramble a bit more, but yeah, so as always, make sure you hit us up on the social medias if you have any questions or feedback for us. We have Instagram and Facebook at Motorsports Tech Talk. One thing, I mean, we're always curious about is kind of what do you guys like the tech episodes more, or like news, or just ramblings, or racing. So yeah, let us know. I think we like to kind of mix it up. So maybe next week we'll do like a tech one or something. So we'll see. But yeah, if you have any feedback for us, let us know.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it's sort of out of the box, let us know, right? If you just want to hear something want to hear or see something that's more fun, feel free to reach out, right? Because I was thinking about this the other day. It's not very techy at all, but I do have that wet nitrous kit. Buy a beater for $800, throw it on there, see how it does. A little before and after, maybe visit a dyno. It would be fun. So if anybody has any thoughts on, stuff you want to see, because obviously we race, we talk about it, but we work on our cars, bikes, whatever a lot. We make parts all the time, fabricating, whatever. So if there's something you want to see, and it's related to cars in any way, we've probably done it. So just feel free to reach out and we can video it, because we do it all.
Yeah. Yeah. So But yeah, I think we at some point would like to expand more into video type stuff. Maybe we record the podcast, as we're filming, because right now we're doing it remotely still. So we're in our respective homes and doing it over Discord actually right now. But so we kind of almost have a video kind of podcast going, but yeah, we're thinking of maybe doing that at some point. And then, yeah, maybe doing some YouTube stuff, since we do have the YouTube channel as well. So, but yeah, I mean, let us know. But as always, thanks again for sticking with us for this long, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.
See ya.